Hey guys, welcome to Faithwerks Designs. I'm Faith, and today we are doing a really exciting new pattern. Now, I have been holding on to this pattern for a little while because Kim and Alex asked me if they could do the very first cut and sew for it to make it really cool. So, introducing the popcorn bag. Now, I have made more than just popcorn bags with this pattern. If you can use your mind and your brain, I'm going to insert some pictures here of different designs that I've done. You can do a lot with this. You just kind of have to play around with it. So Kim and Alex, this is their first cut and sew with me, and I am so excited. So they wanted to do a popcorn bag. You guys have been asking and asking for a popcorn bag. When I made the pumpkin bag, Alex saw it and she was like, "Faith, can you do something with the top and then we can make it into a bucket?" I'm like, absolutely. We changed it up a little bit so that it's a little narrower down at the bottom so that it kind of looks like a popcorn bin when you get it. It's a little wider at the top and narrower down at the bottom. So a lot changed. The top changed, the bottom changed, a lot changed. So let's get into it. It does have two D-ring connectors on the side so that you can wear it as a crossbody strap. It has two zippers in the front. When you open up those zippers on the inside, there are no pockets, I know. However, if you wanted to, you could add those. It's up to you. So you're going to have your little popcorn print on the inside, and it can be really cute. I asked my testers what they wanted, and they were just like, everything. So I've designed a few things, and they may or may not be on my site for you guys to purchase separately if you wanted to get your own material printed. I'm going to talk about that in the outro so that you guys can see it. So let's get started. Alright, so this is going to be the panel that comes in your box. And then this is going to be your lining. It's going to have a waterproof canvas lining. You can actually take this to your ironing board and go ahead and iron it on a low heat, no steam, and it'll flatten out and be like it's supposed to. Let's go over the pieces really quickly. You're going to have your D-ring connectors. You're going to have 6 of your triangle pieces. You're going to have your zipper gusset pieces. You're going to have an outer and a lining for that one. You're going to have the very bottom of your bag. You're going to have an outer and a lining. Then you're going to have an upper lining. This is going to go underneath that popcorn dome. Then you're going to have your main body. It's going to have 2 of your outers and then 2 of your lining. Then you're going to have your upper zipper gusset. If you bought the kit from K&A, you're going to have everything that you need to put this bag together. If you are doing just the pattern, you're going to need some zipper tape, 2 zipper pulls, and 2 D-rings. You can use 1 zipper pull if you want. It's up to you. Alright, so first things first, we're going to grab the very bottom of our bag, and what we're going to do is we're going to put them so that they are wrong sides together. I'm just going to clip those together, and then we're going to take them to the sewing machine, and with a 1/8 seam allowance, we're just going to base stitch them together. Set this aside for a minute. We're going to go to the sewing machine with quite a few things, and that way we can kind of knock a bunch of the prep work out. Now you're going to want to get your upper zipper gusset, and what you're going to do is you're going to take each end and you're going to clip them together, because when we take them to the sewing machine, what we're going to do is at a 1/4 inch, we're just going to sew those ends together, and then we're going to top stitch the seam allowances open. I'm just trying to get all this prep work done in one foul swoop so I don't have to keep taking you back and forth to the sewing machine. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our zipper gusset, and our zippers. And what I'm going to do is on one end, I'm going to open up that zipper, put the left side on, and then the right side, and then push it down, and I'm going to leave my zipper in the center. Then I'm going to open up this other end. I'm going to put my left side on first, then my right side, and push it down so that both of our zippers are on our zipper. Our zipper pulls are on our zipper. Alright, so you're going to take your outer panel, right side to the right side of your zipper, and I'm just going to clip these two in place for right this second, and then I'm going to take my lining and put it right side to the wrong side of my zipper, and just kind of add it to that zipper sandwich. When we go to the sewing machine, what I'm going to do is at 1/4 inch, just sew those together. So let's go do all that prep work now. I've got my stitch length at a 4, and I'm just base stitching all the way around the edge. Then I'm going to grab my upper zipper gusset, and before I took that off, I'm going to put my stitch length back to a 3, and then I'm going to make sure that I am back stitching at both the beginning and the ends of that. Now I'm going to do the lining piece. Now I'm going to extend my stitch length to a 4. Alright, and then you're going to push those seams open. You're going to do that to both the outer and the lining panel. Now I'm going to grab my zipper gusset that we put together. I'm going to sew those together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitching when I start and when I stop. Now I'm going to take my outer panel and the other end of my zipper, and I'm going to put them right sides together. I'm going to go ahead and base stitch these two together so it doesn't try and move when I put the lining on. Because it's such a small gusset, that's what it wants to do. It wants to run away. Now, we're going to take our lining and place it right side to the wrong side of our zipper. So it should look like that, and then we're going to sew those together. Try and make sure that your zipper stays, it isn't going like this, but you keep it straight. Base stitching will help keep that in place, but just in case, just make sure that your zipper is straight. Once that's done, it should look like this, and then we're going to pull the right side out. So your gusset should look like this. With the right side of your zipper, you should have a big circle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extend my stitch length to a 4, and then I'm just going to sew around my zipper gusset just so that it'll stay together. Oh, poo. Alright, so my needle broke because I took that corner weird. Alright, I got my very bottom panel and I went ahead and kind of trimmed that down so that it looks good. We've got our upper zipper panels ready to go. We're going to hang on to those for just a minute. And then we've got our zipper gusset all done and sewn into place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our upper zipper gusset and our zipper gusset, and we're going to make a few notches so that we can kind of put all of this together. So we're going to put the edges of your zipper gusset together, and then I'm just going to make a center notch. So I know where that center is. Then I'm going to come over here to the edge of my zipper tape, and then I'm going to make a notch. If you're using nylon zipper tape, we are going to take just a little bit off. I took a little more than I would like. Nothing new here. And then just take your lighter and just kiss it so that it won't unravel on you. Next thing you're going to do is take a little clip and you're going to put your front and your back centers together. I clip it in place just because it kind of helps me make sure that I'm not moving it around. Then you're going to find your right side center. I'm going to try and make a smaller clip this time. I'm going to stop and I'm going to melt those ends before I forget. Now we're going to go to the left side center. And burn those. So you're going to have your front and back side center, and then your left and your right side center. Now we're going to grab our outer panel, the upper zipper gusset, and we're going to fold it in half. The back seam is right here. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to find the front center. That back seam is going to be in the very back. So that's going to be our back center and our front center. Now we're going to put those two together and flip them together, and then we're going to find the right center and the left center, and you're going to do the same exact thing to the lining. Alright, now we're going to take our zipper panel and our zipper panel lining, and we're going to place our back seam here with our back center notches here and put them right sides together. Then you're going to want to go around and match up your notches. So I've got my front center matched up, my right center matched up, and my left center, and then go all the way around, clipping them together. Now that you've got both of these together, let's go to the sewing machine and base stitch our zipper to our zipper panel. So I've got a 4-stitch length, and I'm just base stitching them together by sewing them together at 1/8 of an inch. Alright, so your front, back, and left and right center marks are going to be really important throughout this entire process, so just make sure that you're doing it. Alright, so I'm going to take my back center seam and I'm going to put it towards my back notch. Right sides together. So right sides together. And then I'm going to find my front center mark. Then my right side, and then my left side, and then clip all the way around. Then we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and at 1/4 of an inch, we're going to sew these together, and then we're going to do just like a regular zipper gusset. It's late in the day, y'all. We're going to do just like a regular zipper gusset. We're going to sew them together, pull them away from the zipper, and then base stitch down the side. So let's go do that. Alright, I'm going to start in the back. I've got my stitch length at a 3. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my outer panel and my lining panel and get them away from that zipper, because I want to get the edges of my lining and the edges of my vinyl. Okay, so I'm matching up all of my registration marks, my left, right, front, center, all that jazz. I want to make sure that my lining is matching up before I go base stitching the sides together, because if it gets wibbly or wobbly, it's not going to look good. Okay, now just go around and you can clip them together all the way around. So it's going to look just like that with your lining and your outer panel all clipped away from your zipper. Alright, I have got my stitch length at a 4. I'm also sewing this so that my lining is facing up, and that way I can kind of see if my lining decides it wants to go its own way. And then just sew all the way around at 1/8 of an inch on the edges. Alright, now I want to top stitch down my zipper. So I'm going to turn this inside, and then at 1/8 of an inch down your zipper, go ahead and top stitch down your zipper. Your zipper gusset is all done. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our 6 popcorn triangles. Now, if you've gotten the bucket bag, you're going to want to automatically do and just go, but hold your horses. What we're going to do is we're going to grab 2 of these and put them right sides together. So right sides together, and then on one side we're going to clip them together, if my clips will cooperate, and then get another set and put them right sides together. In order for the seam at the top to be just right, we're going to have to do it this way and kind of take a few more steps. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and then at 1/4 of an inch sew around this angle and then around this side. Then, just like with the bucket bag, we're going to open up the seam and then top stitch our seams down. Leave these alone. We'll use them in just a minute. Right, so I've got my stitch length at a 3, and then we are sewing at 1/4 of an inch. Alright, now I'm going to extend my stitch length to a 4, and I'm going to push this in, and you're going to open these seam allowances down, and we're going to sew down one side and back up the other. This is going to be really hard to see at some points, guys. I am so sorry. I will get the camera as close as I can, but it just is what it is. When it starts getting to be the entire like bowl shape, then it gets really hard. Alright, so we've got those 2 started. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the 3rd piece, and again, putting it right sides together, you're going to follow that contour and clip those together. So it'll look like that. Now we're going to do the same exact thing. Sew them together at 1/4 of an inch, open the seam allowances, and top stitch down each side of the seam allowance. I've got my 3 stitch length again to sew them together. Alright, now I've switched my stitch length to a 4, and you're going to push it out so that it looks kind of like a half a bowl. Then we're going to need to top stitch those curves, and this is why it's going to be really hard for you guys to see what I'm doing. So now I've moved you to where you can see, but I cannot. It's fine. It's fine. Alright, well, we're going to give it a go. So make sure that you're pushing this down, because you don't want like this fabric to like shove underneath that side. That happened to me once or twice. So just make sure you're kind of pushing that down as you're going, so there's no seam allowance or anything like that underneath of it. Alright, now we've got these two pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push this one in and leave that one pushed out. And then that way you guys can see the top stitch seams. I'm going to have that on both of them. Alright, so I'm going to start in this corner and I'm going to clip them together. You may have to fudge it a little bit and make it go where you want it to go. So both of your panels will be right sides together. What we're going to do is we're going to sew across the top. This is where it's going to get hard to see. We're going to open up the seams again and sew them down. If you don't sew the center seam, it's going to look really, really weird. If you don't do like the top stitching too, it might be kind of a little bit difficult, but you can do it. I have faith in you. You can do it. I have got a 3-stitch length, and this thing is going to want to go out of shape. So you're just going to have to make sure that those edges stay together. And you're doing your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Alright, I have got you on the tightest angle I can think of to be able to see this. Okay, so you're going to open this up and push it in. So the wrong side should be out, or the right side should be out, sorry. And you see, if you don't do that seam because you've done the other ones, it's going to look weird. So what you're going to need to do is these sides that you can't see, these sides we're just going to kind of roll in to get them out of our way. So just take these sides and roll them in. And then we're going to need a 4-stitch length. And you're going to press that seam open, which you can't see. We're going to press this seam open, and then we're going to sew down one side and then back up the other. Alright, here's hoping you guys can actually see something. Alright, so make sure that you're pushing down so that the extra fabric isn't like getting up underneath of it. And this part, you guys, just take your time. You don't want to mess this up. So I'm pulling and I'm pushing that seam down. I hope that was pretty clear for you guys and that you could actually see what I was doing. But basically, you want all of your seams open so that everything will be in the shape that it's supposed to be in. Hopefully that makes sense. Alright, now we're going to need our upper zipper gusset. And let's see, we're going to turn it right side in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find a place in between one of my triangles. And I'm going to put my back notch. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that upper zipper panel and I'm going to clip it to my triangle dome. So your upper zipper gusset is now clipped to your triangle dome. We'll call it triangle dome and go with it. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to base stitch these two together for right now. So let's go to the sewing machine and do that. Alright, I have got a 4-stitch length because we're base stitching. The upper zipper gusset wants to escape that way. So you've got to make sure that the bottom edges are staying together as you're sewing them that way. It always seems to be in the corners of the triangle that it wants to run away. So just make sure that the edges are staying together. Alright, we're all connected. Look around the edges on this side, and if you've got any fabric poking up, say your triangles kind of went that way and your upper zipper gusset decided to run away and not escape, then you're going to want to trim that up. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our upper circle, the upper lining circle, and what I did was I put the edges together and made a taco, and then found the left side and the right side center and made notches. Then I put those notches together and made the front center and back center notches, because we need to be able to match them up with everything else. Okay, so let's find the back first. And what we're going to be doing is you're going to be adding your lining with the right side facing you, wrong side to the wrong side of your popcorn dome, your popcorn triangle dome. So I'm going to clip those notches together, and then I'm going to come over here where my front notch is going to be, and then do my side notches, which happens to be here on a seam. Fantastic. So you're just basically matching up all of those notches. And then go ahead and clip all the way around. Alright, once we have this clipped together, what we're going to need to do is you're going to need to leave yourself a space. What I have been doing is stuffing the top of this, because if you don't, your top is going to squish over time and it's going to look funny. It's up to you. You don't have to stuff it. I'm just going to stuff it. I had one of my customers message me, and she's like, the stuffing did great. It held its shape, and I didn't have to worry about it. So when we're going ahead and doing this part, you want to make sure you leave yourself a decent sized hole so that you can kind of get your hand in there and shove some stuffing in. So let's go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to make sure that you back stitch when you start and back stitch when you stop. So I still have a 4 stitch length. And I'm going to make sure that I back stitch. Alright, so I've left that hole open, and then I've gone and grabbed some stuffing. I think this is way too much, but we'll see. This part is optional. You do not have to do it. But I'm going to go ahead. I left myself a nice sized hole so I could get my hand in there and really stuff it good. So just take your hand and kind of smush it down and see if that's kind of where you want it to be and as fluffy as you want it to be. You don't want to get it too full, because then it's going to be hard to sew closed. Alright, what we're going to do is you take that lining and put it back to the side. We're going to go back to the sewing machine and then sew that side closed. Now that we've got this all sewn, the next thing that we need to do is add some binding. So I went and made myself some binding out of some cotton that I had, and it's 2 inches wide, so I just folded it in half and ironed it, and then I folded the edges in on itself and folded it up and ironed it all the way down. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to open up each end, and I'm going to make sure that this doesn't twist or anything. So you're going to have right sides together, and 1/4 inch I'm going to sew that edge together. Alright, so I sewed it together with a 3 stitch length and 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to press this open, and then I'm going to make that fold itself back up on itself. And for just a minute, alright, now I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on there like you would regularly do your binding and clip it on there. Now you just need to go all the way around and clip your binding on, and then we'll go to the sewing machine and we will sew that in place. Alright, so we've got our binding all on with a 4-stitch length and a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to go ahead and sew my binding on. Alright, so we are all bound up. Next thing you can do is you can pull this down away from the top. You want your binding to all go in the same direction. You know how when it folds over and it can go either way? That's what you want so that the outside looks right. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start on the bottom of our bag. We're going to grab our D-ring connectors. Alright, so we've got our D-ring connectors. They are the red pieces. What I did was I put a piece of 3/4 of an inch Decoville light down the center because that's going to be what your purse hangs off of. So you really want to give a little extra stability to that. And then I put a piece of 1/2 inch double-sided tape down the center. What you're going to do is you're going to take that paper off, hopefully leaving the tape on. And then you're just going to press each side down to that center line. I'm not putting it on the center line, but right next to that center line. Then I'm going to take the other side and do the same exact thing. And you're going to do that to both of your D-ring connectors. Okay, once that's done, the next thing you're going to do is get a marking tool and a ruler. And on one end of your D-ring connector, we're going to mark 3 inches. You're just going to make a mark on the wrong side of your vinyl. So the wrong side is going to be the side that you folded it into, and you've got the little line in the center. That's going to be your wrong side. So we put a mark at 3 inches. What we're going to do is we're going to take this to the sewing machine. We're going to go ahead and with a 4-stitch length, 1/8 of an inch from the edge, go ahead and go down to that, stop at that mark, go over, and then back up on each one of these. Alright, so 1/8 of an inch from the edge with a 4-stitch length. We're just going to go down all the way to that mark and stop. Just make sure that your needle is down when you take that turn. And then back up. Do that to both of your D-ring connectors. Alright, now that those are done, they should look like that on the front and that on the back. What we're going to do now is from that same side, we're going to measure in 4.5 inches. And then you're going to make another mark. Then we're going to grab some of our 1/2 inch double-sided tape, and I'm going to make it go just a little ways past the mark that we just made. That's what's going to hold the top of the D-ring connector down. So it's going to go past that mark, like 1/2 inch or so. Now turn these over so that the right side is facing you. And then we're going to mark a 1/2 inch down from where you stop sewing. We're going to turn these over and grab your D-rings. And then we're going to pull this paper back just to reveal our mark that we made earlier. So our mark that's right there. I'm not going to pull the entire tape off. I'm just going to pull a little bit of that paper and fold it back. And then I'm going to take my D-ring with the long side on the wrong side of my D-ring connector, make the end of my D-ring connector go to that mark that we made, and then press those together. And do the same thing with the other one. We're just pulling it back just a little bit for right now. Alright, we're going to set these aside for just a minute. We're going to grab 2 of our outers and we're going to put them right side together. We're just going to be sewing down one side right now. We're not doing both sides. We're going to have to do one at a time the way the handles have to go on. So let's take this to the sewing machine and sew them together at 1/4 of an inch. Alright, so I've got a 3-stitch length, 1/4 of an inch, going all the way down. And then I'm going to extend my stitches to a 4, and then I'm going to open up my side. So my seam allowances are pushed to the side, and I'm going to top stitch them down. Alright, so your finished panel should look like that. It's all wide and open. So we're going to take one of our D-ring connectors. We're going to remove that paper now. And then I'm going to find the center of the back of my D-ring connector and find our center of our seam. I'm going to line that up down at the bottom. And then I'm going to double check myself all the way up that it's following the seam. Okay, now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew from the bottom all the way up to that 1/2 inch mark and then back down again. I've still got my 4 seam allowance. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to need to bring these sides together. What you're going to do is, again, at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, we're going to sew those together, open up the seams, and then top stitch the seams down. So let's go do that. I've got a 3-stitch length, making sure to back stitch. Alright, now we need to press these seams open, and then we need to stitch them down. The way that I'm going to do it, I've already changed my stitch length to a 4. I'm going to feel with my hands. I'm going to start at the widest part on the top. I'm going to lay it down. Again, it's going to be one of those things where it's kind of harder for you to see it, but you know essentially what I'm doing. Start from the top. That way you have a nice wide opening to start with, instead of starting down at the bottom where it's a little tighter. And so you're just putting your hand underneath and opening that seam up, and then push down from the top so that the seam stays down. Now make sure that your needle is down before you turn it. And I'm just going to hand crank this so that I don't break that little needle, because I know my machine, she will. Alright, now you're just going to go, and there she was, she broke. Alright, you're just going to go right back down the other side and stitch that seam allowance down. And I'm going to go change my needle real quick, but go ahead and just finish stitching all the way down. Alright, I just wanted to clarify that the needles are the problem, not the vinyl. I just didn't want you guys to think that I've already broken 2 needles because this vinyl is so thick or something. It's not that. It's my machine. She's used to thicker materials and sewing heavier stuff, and K&A's vinyl is a little bit thinner, which is perfect for domestics. And I have to use a size 12, and I think I got a bad batch because I have broken that many in like a week. So I think I got a bad batch. Alright, that's done. Next thing we need to do is take our other D-ring connector, and this one's going to be a little harder to do, but you can do it. We're going to take the tape off, and just like we did the other side, how we matched up our center seam of the back of our D-ring connector and the seam that we made on the side, matching them up so that they're center all the way down, that's what you need to do on the opposite side. And it's going to be kind of hard to show you because of how it's constructed. So you're going to start from the bottom, find that center, and you see how the line of my D-ring connector is following this line? That's what you want. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to start at the bottom, the tighter end, go all the way up to the 1/2 inch mark, go over, and then back down again. Starting at the very bottom, it's going to get tight for a minute, but once you turn around, it's going to get nice and wide. It'll be alright. So we're just going up one side, up to that 1/2 inch mark, and then back down again. So you're going at 1/8 of an inch. I wish there was an easier way to do that, but there's not. So I turned it right side out. I just wanted to show you guys kind of what we did. Just go all the way up to that 1/2 inch mark and then back down again so that you have it on both sides. Alright, next thing we need to do is we need to grab our lining and set that aside for just a minute. So you're going to have both pieces of your sides, and then you're going to put them so that they are right sides together. Mine were cut a little bit bigger, so don't be worried. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do both sides this time because we're not adding anything to the center. So let's go do that. I've got a 3-stitch length and I'm just going to sew at 1/4 of an inch. Now you're going to need to designate which side is going to be the front and which side is going to be the back. Let's go ahead and put it right side back in. We're going to open up our zipper on our top, and then we're going to match up our back notches, our front notches, and then our side notches. So this is going to be my back, and it's going to be tight, y'all. So I've got my back notches together, and now I'm putting my front notches together. And then I'm just going to go ahead and clip all the way around because our side notches are behind our D-ring connectors. Let's go to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch this zipper in. I'm going to start at my back because with the D-ring connectors, the zipper is wanting to kind of pull up and things aren't quite laying flat. So I'm going to start in the back, go around really slowly, making sure that I pull this D-ring connector out of the way, pull that zipper so it'll be right edge to edge with the outside panel, and base stitch it all together. So you're going to have to push that top out of your way. So we've got a 4-stitch length, and we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch and just go ahead and sew that zipper on. Alright, I don't know if you could tell while I was sewing, if you could see it, but I was trying to make sure that I was trying to use the same seam allowance all the way around, and 2, I was trying to make sure that the zipper was right on the edge so that it doesn't kind of like go like this after I turn it right side out. Alright, we're going to grab our lining and you're going to turn it right side out. We're going to match up our back notch, our front notch, our side notches, match everything up, and then go ahead and clip all the way around. And it's going to be weird. Now, we're going to go back to the sewing machine. We're going to sew again at 1/4 of an inch. Just make sure that your lining is staying edge to edge with everything else, and it'll look great. I've got a 3-stitch length. I'm going to go ahead and start. I thought I was in the back. Okay, I'm in the back. So I'm sewing again at 1/4 of an inch. When you get to where your D-ring connectors are, you're going to have to push them out of the way. Push your lining in. Right now would be a great time to have a stiletto out. Am I gonna? Nope. Alright, now that that's done and we've got our lining attached, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull everything through the bottom very carefully take the outer and the lining and turn it right side down. Alright, now we're going to need to match up the bottoms. Oh, my zipper looks so good doing it at 1/4 inch to make sure it's all straight. Okay, take some clips and match up the bottoms. You want to match up your side seams, front and back seams, all that jazz. And then we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch those together. And then we can put our bottom on and we're almost done. Let's go to the sewing machine and base stitch the bottom. Alright, so I am base stitching with the lining facing me because I want to, again, I want to make sure that that lining isn't trying to run away. I just want to make sure that they're even Steven. Alright, so we've got the bottom all base stitched. The next thing that we need to do, and you guys are probably going to be frustrated with me, but we're going to have to turn this right side in again. I want to top stitch this, but I want to be able to see what I'm top stitching. You could have top stitched it just like that, but while I'm top stitching, I want to see my outside because I want to make sure that my outside looks good. So turn it wrong side out one more time, and let's go top stitch that. Okay. We're going to top stitch. I do not know if you're going to be able to see anything. So I'm starting towards the back and I'm going to make sure that I know where my strings are to start. I want to hang on to those so that I can pull my thread through when I get done. So just as you're starting, hang on to your thread and then also get that zipper out of the way so that you don't accidentally hit it with your needle. And then an 1/8 of an inch. And then start sewing an 1/8 of an inch from the edge to top stitch that down. And again, watch out for your other zipper. Alright, so that's done. I must have sewn a little higher on one of these D-rings because it was tough going around it. Okay. While this is wrong side out, we're going to grab our bottom, and just like we did with the top, I'm going to fold it in half like a taco, find the center, on both sides, then take those notches and put them together, and find the other sides. Alright, now what we're going to need to do is match up the bottom notches, side notches, front and back notches, side notches. So I've got my front and back, now I need to do my sides. And then you're just going to clip all the way around. We get some binding on here and you guys will be all done. Whoops. Oh, it's time to buy some new clips. Okay, so you got your front and back and your sides. Now go around and clip them all together. I have still got a 4-stitch length. I've got my left hand on the inside of the bag, so it's over here. And I'm just going to kind of help the bottom and the outer panel stay where they're supposed to be. Because one or the other is going to want to slip and go somewhere where it's not supposed to be. So I've just kind of got my hand in there so I can push it forward or pull the other one forward. And I'm just going to go real slow all the way around because it is the roundy bits. Alright, just like I did with the upper circle binding, we're going to have to do that to the bottom. So I went ahead and did the same exact thing, sewed the ends together, folded them in on each other, go ahead and put your binding on the bottom. Take it to your sewing machine and sew your binding on. And then all you gotta do is turn it right side out and you are done. Well, we gotta do a strap. Once we do the strap, then we're done. So we're sewing at 1/4 of an inch all the way around and sewing our binding on. Alright, you just gotta turn it right side out and then you are done. I hope you guys liked that video. I hope that you have been able to grab your popcorn bucket from K&A's. I really was excited that my first cut and sew with them is going to be this popcorn bucket, because it's something you guys have been asking for. So make sure that you check out their Facebook page, get on there. After the original boxes go out, they have some left. It's not very many, and they will post them on their wall. So if you go on there, make sure that you follow, make sure that you like, and make sure that you interact with the page so that Facebook knows, hey, I want to see the stuff that comes out from K&A, and that way I don't miss this, because they go really, really fast, you guys. I know not all of us can afford the boxes every single month, but this is one you're not going to want to miss. I hope you guys like this video. I worked really hard on this pattern to get it just right so that the dome shape was just right, and that way it kind of looked. I have one that I made and I put it. You really have to sit around. I really need to make color sheets on the bottom of the directions. Maybe I will now that I'm thinking about it. But I put the ice cream cone, waffle cone on here, which by the way, K&A sells. So if you want to buy these prints, the waffle cone and the sprinkles, K&A sells them. So if you put the waffle cone on the top, it looks more like an ice cream cone. If I can find a picture, I will post it here. But you can do all kinds of stuff with this pattern. Now, let's talk about ordering panels. So what I did was I went in Illustrator and I designed a Slurpee cup because I needed a Slurpee cup. And so I went in Illustrator, designed it all up, sent it into Luxe. I talked to Jessica and I was like, where do I go to be able to have certain things printed? And she sent me a link. They have all different bases. So if you don't want to do vinyl and you just want to do a different base, you can. It's up to you. Just make sure that you select the right one that you want. And then you take your file, upload it, and they will print it out for you. I was so happy with how it came out. I cannot tell you guys how happy I am. It looked really, really good. So if you want to do the files, they're going to be sold separately from the directions because that's a lot. And I'd have to charge like $20 for the pattern and everybody get mad with me because, you know, it's been out there. So anyway, I'm going to be selling it separately. So it will come with the one design without the written directions. So you're going to have to buy the written directions, and then if you want to have the designs that I created myself, they're going to be in a separate file. And then you can take that file and you can take it to Luxe or you can take it to K&A and you can have it printed. It's up to you. You're going to have to pay for it to be printed. So don't say, Faith gave me this file and now you need to print it for free. That's not how it works. You're going to have to pay to get it printed as well. The files that I'm going to have on my site are going to be for personal use only. They're not going to be for resale. So if you want to purchase them and make a bag out of it, you can. You can sell the bag, that's fine, but you can't take that file and then print a bunch of them off and then sell those panels. Does that make sense? This is going to be my first time doing that, so we're going to see how this goes. I'm not a super artist, but I've been wanting to work on it a little bit more so that I can kind of future goals, y'all. Future goals. I want to have a printer of my own and be able to print fabric so that when I make my own designs, I can print them out and I can sell them. And that way, maybe I won't have to work so hard. I can have one job instead of like 4. It would be great. So that's future plans, and that's why I'm kind of like inching into it with design. So check out those design files. See if it's something that you're interested in. I will be selling them pretty cheap, but please do not resell those files. They're going to have watermark or something on them. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up, or if you want to subscribe so you don't miss some of the other cool stuff that's coming up, I have quite a few patterns lined up, and I'm trying to make myself take a break at the end of this year so that I can kind of work on add-ons. A lot of you guys have been asking for add-ons for the Vegvisir, and so I'm trying between October and December to just kind of work on stuff like that. I have a really cool idea for like a Viking style shield with like a 3D. It's going to be really cool. I just need the time to do it. So I'm waiting for all of my work to get done so that I can play with it. It's going to be cool. Anyway, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of those. Or if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I do check those daily. Also, don't forget, check out the merch below. There are several links down there. So you're going to have a link for K&A so that you can just kind of keep up with their Facebook page. There's going to be a link for my merch. I have tons of t-shirts that I've designed if you guys want to go check them out and help support my small business. There's also a link down below for the pattern so that when it comes out, you guys can grab it. Is that it? I don't know. There will be a link for everything down there. Thanks for joining us again on Faithwerks Designs. Bye, guys.